Hey everyone, it's Julie Young for Korean American Story and Not Your Average. Today I am sitting down with Donnie Kwak.
Hello.
Hey Donnie,
Hi,
how are you?
welcome.
Donnie is the East Coast Bureau Chief of The Ringer.
That's
Did
correct.
I get that right?
That's correct.
And you've had a long and illustrious career in journalism. But we're going to get to that. But I want to start with just, more about you and your personal story.
Well, I was born in Tacoma Park, but I grew up in a place called Glenmont, which is in Montgomery County. And for the first, 8 years of my life, I lived in Glenmont, which was pretty diverse. I mean, it was like a apartment complex that I lived in.
Wait, so how close is that to Tacoma Park?
Close, very close. My sister actually went to Tacoma Park School. But yeah, I mean, from my recollection of growing up in Glenmont, in the condominiums that we grew up in, it was quite diverse. So I think that kind of helped, in my formative years. Yeah.
And what was it like growing up in the Kwak household?
My parents were pretty busy people, like typical, I think, of like immigrant parents. But my childhood was pretty happy-go-lucky, I would say. I mean, there's like the typical struggles, I think, with just my parents adjusting to a new country and being stressed out. But my sister and I kind of made do, yeah. I mean, in retrospect, I think I'm probably more aware now as an adult, thinking about what they must have gone through. I think my parents were also like really open to what their children, myself and my sister Yuna, wanted to do. So in that regard, I'm really grateful that I didn't have the typical, of course my parents wished we were doctors and lawyers, but I ended up going into journalism. My father was also into journalism, and my sister's like an academic and like a Francophile and a professor. So, we were supported in those endeavors. I grew up in Maryland, and I was like, at that time, the Redskins, pardon the name, was like the huge team. And so I got into football, and because like everybody was into the Redskins, I became kind of obsessive about the team. And so like I would watch the games and then like make up sports reports and then use that big tape recorder and record myself saying like the Washington Redskins defeated the Philadelphia Eagles 27-20, like that type of thing, like mimicking basically what I saw.
Like when did you start doing that? Like how old were you?
Shit, like I probably did that when I was like 7, 8, 9, like those ages.
So did you want to be a sportscaster first or a hip hop journalist?
I didn't even really have an idea of what the concept of journalism was, but I would say from an early age, I knew I wanted to do something creative. I wanted to write. I loved reading and writing and telling stories. That eventually took shape as like journalism, more towards latter years of high school and college. But prior to that, I was a fan of hip hop, and I was a fan of sports, and I definitely didn't like math or science. So it had to kind of, as I was starting to think about, I need to do something with my life, I think that was a natural path.
So where did your love for hip hop come from?
I was just fascinated by it. It just sounded good. It's like sometimes when you're young and you don't even know, it just like feels good or it sounds good, and then you just kind of gravitate toward it. But then as I got a little bit older too, I kind of the lifestyle was appealing to me, kind of the gangster side, being taboo a little bit.
Why was that appealing to you?
Because it's kind of it's anti-authority, and then it's, like I remember listening to NWA and thinking like, obviously I'm growing up far from Compton, but I'm just like, damn, these guys are like, this is something real, like this is something that's like different than what they're trying to get you to listen to. Mm-hmm. And then for that reason, I think it's like a kind of a, for like if you're going through a rebellious stage, or if you're kind of questioning the world, and then there's these voices, these loud voices, kind of like adamantly speaking their minds, and then it's gonna appeal to you. So yeah.
It's kind of like the whole original purpose of hip hop, right?
Yeah, and again, like I said, I can't stress enough that it's like subculture back then. Yeah. So it's not popular. It's actually against the grain.
Right.
Especially as an Asian. And
what did your dad think about all that?
He had at that point gone overseas. So starting when I was like 13 or 14. So
to work?
Yeah, like, so he, in the middle of his life, pivoted to his credit, actually, like switched jobs, switched careers. So he had been working as a radio broadcaster, and then he decided to join the Foreign Service, which again, as I was saying, my mother teaching ESL in a country that's not her own is remarkable, or teaching a language that's not her own is remarkable. My father ended up working for the US government, and he's from Korea as a diplomat.
Wow.
Yeah, so I remember for a steady year or 2 years, he studied like mad to pass the test to become a Foreign Service officer, which is like a history test. And then also, he was first stationed, I think, in Beijing, so he had to learn Chinese, Mandarin as well.
God.
And it was intense. Like, he was like, I remember like he was listening to language tapes in the car all the time, and he would always be sleeping on the couch, and you know, he worked his ass off to get that. And so, you know, I commend him for that. But it also, again, speaking of being singularly focused on something, it's not like he had time to be a dad, really.
Right.
And then, of course, when he got stationed to Beijing, I think it was Beijing first and then Taipei, he was just gone like that. So,
When you were around 13, that happened.
yeah, right when I was entering high school. But what had happened was my sister also left for college at that time. So then it just became me and my mom instantly. And then, so yeah, maybe that also kind of made me not rebel more, because I think I was overall decent kid or good, well-behaved. But like, I definitely was kind of like on my own thing, you know.
So for the rest of the time you were at home with your mom, your dad wasn't there.
Yeah, he wasn't there. Yeah, but it was, you know, like, I don't know, I'm talking about this type of shit. Nah, but yeah, like, he was doing his thing. Like, he ended up traveling to a lot of different countries, actually. I mentioned Haiti before.
Would you see him intermittently, or did you just not?
No, I saw him intermittently. Like, I went to, like, for example, he was stationed in Haiti, and I visited him there. My sister, went to visit him when he was in Beijing. And then, yeah, I visited him like in all the countries that he was at, actually, with the exception of China. And then he would come home infrequently.
So how do you think that affected you as to like who you are today?
It definitely had an effect, I'll say that, you know, like, I don't know if altogether negative or positive, but just it certainly had an effect. I guess that's the best way I could say it. Yeah, because like, you know, it's just, it kind of changes the dynamic of the family a little bit. And then also, as a kid who needs parenting and guidance, sometimes I don't feel like I lacked for it per se, but it also puts you in a position where you need to bear the brunt of some of that earlier than maybe you would want to. So, you know, I think in some ways it's good, in some ways it's bad, but, you know, it's the past.
So on the podcast, I asked you what the most significant relationship in your life has been, and you said it's been with your therapist. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Significant might not be the adjective I would use, but it's like someone that I'm closest to, or somebody that knows everything. Like, I'm not gonna call my mother or my sister and tell them about some old childhood trauma or something, or like something bad I feel like has happened to me, or something bad that's happening to me now, even, because it's just like, we don't have that type of relationship. I can't remember actually how long ago it was, but yeah, I was going through some shit at the time, like nothing too serious, like nothing like, I wouldn't even call it depression or anything, but I was just kind of anxious. I had some anxiety, and I was like, my sister was like, yeah, maybe you should talk to this person. And then I started, and then just kept it going, yeah.
But, you know, I loved that you answered in that way, because I just feel like, you know, there's this sort of stigma around talking about mental health issues, and especially in the Korean American community and Korean community.
Yeah, look at
what just
the
happened.
guy, yeah. This guy, Jonghyun, right, from SHINee. Yeah, like a K-pop star, just killed himself. Clearly, we don't know exactly why he did it. Everybody has their reasons, but from what we know, it sounded like he had all the signs of depression. It seemed like, I guess I've been reading some blogs now, or like fan sites, if you read between the lines, not even really, it seems pretty obvious that he was calling out for help for like a while now, and like saying in interviews, I'm depressed. And even in his lyrics and things like that. And I don't think therapy is thought of as like a possible solution. So that's a shame.
Donnie, I just want to acknowledge you because first of all, you are an amazing writer.
Thank you.
I have said many times, like, I want to be Donnie when I grow
Wow,
up.
thank you.
I really appreciate it. So
I'm glad.
cheers.
Oh, cheers. Thank you.